Hina is one of the oldest goddess forms of all. She's found all over the Pacific, okay, in the oldest of legends. And she is so popular, and she's always beautiful. I mean, beauty is one of her main characteristics, but she's so popular that when later gods and goddesses came, an awful lot of them wanted Hina. When the male gods came, they wanted Hina for their wife. So then you have a lot of the stories where Hina is the wife of the new god who comes into the islands. But she's one of the most well-known. She plays prominent roles in the stories of Maui, another one of the oldest figures in all of the islands. Okay? Maui, who is the demigod, the hero, may have been an extremely ancient god, but mostly we know him as a shamanic figure, a trickster also. Hina plays lots of roles as his mother, his sister, his grandmother, his wife, depending on the story. Okay? We're not going to tell any of those particular stories, but Hina goes way, 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 way back. Her name means several things about it. One of it is gray, and another meaning is to blow directly like a wind. And there's another meaning that has to do with falling over. Don't know why, but it does. Okay, that's just what the word means. But usually it's the grayness. And Hina is associated very strongly with the ocean, with the moon, both of those very strongly, with feminine qualities and activities. She was, if we can use a Western concept, patroness of the tapa making, the cloth making that was done from the bark of the trees. In fact, when old Hawaiians used to look at the moon, in some places people see a rabbit, in some places they see a man. In Hawaii they saw Hina beating her tapa, okay? Kneeling down and beating the tapa to make cloth. And there's some stories related to that. The story we're going to tell is not very often told, not very often heard of. When we think of Hina, we think of the color, we use the color white or gray or silver. Okay? That's very common because that's part of her name. And we go way, way back for this story. So for this story, I'm going to need some help. And the first help I'm going to need is going to be someone to play the role of Hina. Now, oh good. All right. So, would you come up, please? Now, just to get you into the mood, we're just going to tie this on lightly. Okay, good. So, that's good. Hina is one. We're also going to need, let's see. Yeah, now, go ahead, sit down for the moment. You're going to be getting up in a moment, but you can sit down. We need a couple people who are just willing to sit down, but maybe get up once to play her parents. One parent and another parent. Okay, we've got your parents. All right. We're going to need a ku'ula, her brother. You want to be her brother? Okay. We're going to need a man, a chief, called Koni Konia. You're going to be the chief. Good. Okay. Some of you may be playing a number of roles, but that's fine. And let's see who else we're going to need in here. I think that's going to be about all the people we need for this one. Okay. Now this story comes from the research of a woman named Martha Beckwith, who wrote Hawaiian mythology. She got it from two other sources. One is a Hawaiian writer from the 1800s called David Malo, and also from the early 1800s, a man named Fornander, Judge Fornander, who was a very avid researcher of Polynesian legends. So that's where this one comes from. So, first of all, Hina is the daughter of Kahili. This is Kahili. You can stay right there right now, Kahili. Okay? The daughter of Kahili and Kaikea. Now, Kaiuli means dark sea. Dark sea. And Kaikea means light sea. So what we're talking about is the deep ocean and the ocean that's closer to the shore. These were the parents of Hina. So actually, Hina, you can sit down because Hina is living with her parents under the ocean. And the place where she's living is a place called, I'll get these names down here that I don't have memorized. Okay, Kahiki Honua Kea. Keye. Okay, Kahiki Honua Keye. Now, Kahiki means any place out of sight. It could be in any direction. In this case, it means the invisible, submerged land. The invisible land that's submerged under the ocean. That's where Hina is living at this time. Okay? Now, she has a brother, Ku'ula. And Ku'ula, as in the Hawaiian system, was considered a god of fishermen. And so whenever fishermen wanted to have a good catch, why they would call upon Ku'ula, and every time they came from fishing, there was a little kind of an altar near where they all landed their canoes, and they would put a fish on there as an offering to Ku'ula. So Ku'ula was very well known to the fishermen and connected to the ocean. Well, in this story, he is Hina's brother. Now, he gets tired of being under the ocean all the time, okay? So he decides to come up on land. So he swims up, come on, swim up, swim up, swim up, and up to the surface. Good, he made it. Great, all right. Now, when he comes up to the surface, he meets, of all people, Konikonia, who is the chief of the island where he comes up. So, sit up here, chief. Okay. Now, Ku'ula means sacred ku, or sacred foundation. Okay? All of these names have meaning. Konikonia means man of passion. Okay? And he has a very passionate spirit, this chief. Okay? So now, the chief has a problem. First of all, they meet. He says, "Hi, chief." He says, "Hi." And they greet each other. They can tell they're both from noble families. Okay? They don't overdo it, but they greet each other. Okay. So now Ku'ula is actually working for the chief. Okay? And the chief is a fisherman. Loves to fish. And he goes to this high point of land where he's sitting right now. And you can dip your fish hook in. Okay? He dips his fish hook in the ocean. Okay? But the problem is, every time he puts his fish hook in the ocean, Hina comes under the ocean and she takes the bait and takes the hook. Well, she took the hook. Okay. Next time, let go. Okay? Okay? All right. So go back. So they, again, the king puts it down, and again puts it down, and he puts his fish hooks down. Come on, take it again. And she takes the fish hook and takes the line and takes the bait. Over and over and over this happens. Okay? Go sit down. Okay. Good. Over and over and over this happens. Okay? And the king is really getting frustrated. So when Ku'ula comes to work for him, he finally says, "Look, I'll tell you what I want you to do." He says, "I'm having a problem here, and I need to have my fish." And Ku'ula says, "Well, you know, I got a secret to tell you. It's my sister who's doing it." And he says, "Your sister?" And he says, "Yes, my sister's doing it, and she is so beautiful. So I'll tell you." He says, "I'll tell you." He probably used the Hawaiian phrase for beauty, which is Pali ke kua alo mahina. And what this means is a back like a cliff, straight as a cliff, and the face like a moon. Okay? And she says, it means a finely formed woman. Okay? So the chief is very interested. He says, okay, got to have this girl. So Ku'ula tells him how to do it. Ku'ula goes and carves a likeness of the chief. And he makes a bunch of them, actually. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. And then he gives it to the chief, who lets down the line, okay, all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. Okay. Now, Hina happens to be walking around the bottom of the ocean at this time. Okay. And she sees this image, and she's entranced. And as she grabs the image, this time don't let go. Okay. Why, she follows the image up to the surface and up to the surface and up to the surface, and she finds the chief, and she falls madly in love. Now, that's not the end of the story, okay? Because they're getting along, they're living, but she's kind of missing the food that she used to eat. So after she's up there for a while, she sends Ku'ula back down to get her calabash of food at the bottom of the ocean. Okay? So he swims all the way down to the bottom of the ocean, brings up her calabash of food, and just as he gets to the surface, all of the food flies out and becomes all the moon and the stars. Now, meanwhile, the parents are getting really upset because they don't know what happened to Hina. So they come up to the surface. Now, when they come up to the surface, remember, this is light sea and dark sea coming up to the surface. They come up with this huge, gigantic wave. So just stand up where you're at. And as they come, this big wave comes up and floods everybody and everything. In fact, the name of this ancient flood is called Kahina Li'i. Okay? And it floods everything. Only the king and his immediate family are saved. They have to go to the top. Now this is the top of a mountain, and that's where they have to go. And so, finally the floodwaters go down. Ku'ula goes back in the sea. Okay? The king gets off the mountain as they go down, goes back to his own land. And Hina stays here on this land, and she lives sometimes here in the land and sometimes in the moon. And we know the story is true because if we look at the moon some nights, especially when it's full, we can see Hina there beating her tapacloth. Mahalo. Let me get this. Oh, good. Mahalo. All right. That's probably the one with the most props. Okay. All right, so that was the story then of Hina and how she first came to the land and stayed there. And then all the rest of the stories come from that.